July 2013, I was arrested on a beautiful beach similar to this one, then wrongfully imprisoned for 825 days for a crime that never happened. After stolen from my friend's wedding off a beach in Mobile, Cebu, I was taken to a prison in Manila, where I was held for weeks before being transported back to the United States of America. The prison that I was delivered to in Manila was straight out of a movie. Hundreds of men from dozens of countries were crammed together in quarters that were far too small. The buildings were divided up by plywood that was painted bright pink, and we each were issued a single metal frame bed with a piece of plywood. We were given nothing else. Food was delivered to us twice a day out of a laundry basket, and we were given a small Glad bag of rice or a little chicken meal. If you missed your meal, then you were out of luck and you had to fend for yourself. Showering took place under a green garden hose, either in the corner of the restroom or out in the yard where everybody was watching. Garbage was piled high in the corner until collected, and feral cats ran around wild, hissing at people and hoping for a snack to steal. Being locked up in a foreign prison is a surreal experience, and I had a lot of time to think those first few weeks in prison, my life repeatedly playing like a movie reel. Born in California, raised in Oregon and Illinois, I was a Boy Scout, a football player, and a wrestler. Beginning my career digging ditches, I'd grown into a man that didn't waste much time with talk. I wasn't smart enough to keep up with the best around, but I was a hard worker and I knew how to get things done. After my education, around 2008, I was competing for my dream job at the Ross Valley Sanitary District in Northern California. When I signed the contract for my new position, I would increase my pay from somewhere around $70,000 to over $160,000 a year. I thought that I'd achieved the American dream. I thought that I'd achieved everything that I'd worked for all these years. But I had no idea the hell that was coming. Instantly thrown into a conflict by a reckless few who didn't want us to succeed, the next 3 years were a living hell. While we tried to serve our customers well, saving them money and doing a great job, we were attacked by those who needed my organization to fail. Why? Power and money, of course. Marked by improved business performance and 100% good employee performance reviews, I became the target of our political opposition. But my 5 bosses kept asking me to stay, and every year they gave me a new contract with better benefits. In 2010, one of these benefits was a legal loan that was negotiated, discussed, voted on, and approved. The reason that my employer gave me a $350,000 personal loan was because I'd earned a severance package, and they wanted to make sure that I was given the severance that I'd earned, because there were those who were trying to run to get voted onto the board who wanted to take that away from me. After I was given the loan, I made dozens of on-time payments straight out of my check for over 21 months. At no time was there a complaint, a concern. Nobody asked for an accounting of the money. There were no restrictions on the loan. I received the money deposited from my employer, and I made payments on it twice a month straight out of my check. In July 2012, following the June election, after a majority of my 5 bosses had then been voted off of my company's board, I resigned following my doctor's directions and went to write my sleepy little story about my experiences in Marin County. But that was just a drop in the bucket for what was to come. After roaming a bit the first part of 2012, I went to the Philippines, where the weather is amazing, many people speak English, and the cost of living is very affordable. And I went to the Philippines to write, to learn to write better. I started the RossValleySewerTruth.com, a little blog, and I began telling people parts of my story and trying to work on how I wrote. After receiving thousands of visitors and many supportive comments to my site, I was finding my stride. But I wanted to figure out a better way to do it. I slowed down a little bit, took some time off, was working on my writing, and then all of this changed. In July 2013, I received an invitation to go to a friend's wedding in Mobile, Cebu. A few of us took the ferry over from Tagbilaran City to Cebu, and we went down to Mobile and found our friend and took him out for a little bachelor party that evening. After getting in pretty early, the next morning we all went to the town center in Mobile, to the government center, so that my friend could have the formal portion of his wedding. Not lasting very long, when this was finished, we went back to the little part of the beach where the resort was where we were staying for the wedding celebration. The wedding party sat with their backs to the ocean along one long table, and the friends and guests sat at chairs and tables scattered around the sand. All of the food was at one area on several tables, with the large lechon right in the middle. Shortly into the festivities, a few tourist police arrived and hung around the outside, kind of casually. Tourist police are most similar to park rangers in America. They're passive, they rarely carry firearms, often carry first aid kits, they wear light blue, they're not militarized, they're there to help. They're there to help people, and they do a good job of that. So nobody seemed shocked when there were 3 or 4 of these gentlemen on the outskirts. The tourist police are in every tourist community in the Philippines. One of the wedding party went and talked to the tourist police, and it turned out that they wanted to talk to me. I had no idea why this was at the time, but I was happy to talk to him because I'd had no problems with people in the Philippines. After a brief discussion, they informed me that I was wanted back in my country and that they needed to take me with them, and that began the beginning of 825 days of hell. When it was time for me to return to America, I was met at the huge international airport in Manila by the person who'd apparently been investigating me for some time. You'll be frustrated and angered to hear how this law enforcement officer prosecutes American citizens. She told me that I was under arrest for embezzlement, misappropriation of public funds, and money laundering. For what, I asked? For receiving a legal personal loan from my employer and making payments on time? Her only response was, "You'll get all the information you need when we get back to America." Upon landing in San Francisco, the American portion of my incarceration began. After sitting in the American jail for 800 days, we took my case all the way to trial, a rare event in American justice. And in the end, I was never convicted of the alleged crimes against me. Several key witnesses were proven perjurers on the stand. The many public records that were used to support my defense all supported my closing arguments. The jury acquitted me in the end, so I guess I won. But did I? Winning in American justice isn't quite what many think. The system's goal is punishment by process, to destroy the accused whether they are convicted or not. I lost my career, a good portion of my reputation. I lost most of my possessions, many friends and family. I lost my medical benefits, and I lost 2 hard-earned retirements that I can never get back. But most importantly, I lost 825 days of my life in a system where the cornerstone of our democracy is that we're presumed innocent until proven guilty. I was held away in a corner in a cell in a jail for almost 3 years. Through that process, though my career and my life were rigorously investigated for close to 3 years, tearing apart every part of my life, from my personal emails, my work emails, my travel arrangements, personal relationships, taxes, my marriage, which ended before any of this happened. Despite all of that, despite using both legitimate means and gross prosecutor misconduct, the Marin County District Attorney still could not stand up in a court of law and point to a single piece of evidence that 1, a crime had been committed, or 2, that I was involved in it. According to Ronald Huff, America wrongfully imprisons more than 7,500 innocent citizens per year. These people are our fathers, cousins, siblings, brothers, mothers, employees, friends, and children. My new memoir, 825 Days, is divided into 3 parts. Part 1 is the longest and begins with a brief overview of my life. Then quickly begins covering my employment with the Ross Valley Sanitary District beginning in 2008. This includes why I was hired by the company, what my performance goals were, what our obstacles were, and the conditions which led to my employer giving me an approved and well-documented $350,000 personal loan. Part 1 also includes the story of my arrest in the Philippines, my experiences in the Philippine prison, and preparing to return to the USA. Part 2 opens as I'm landing back in the USA at San Francisco International Airport. Following security protocols to bring me into the country, I'm then transported to my new home for the next 800 days at the Marin County Jail. Over the next 27 months in jail while I'm fighting my case, I go into great detail about the incarcerated life, including prison politics, long-term solitary confinement, what it's like to maybe get 1 hour out of your cell per day. I'll talk about mental and emotional challenges, the food we ate, the relationships we made, and what occupied most of our time when we were alone. Finally, I'll talk about how tough someone needs to be to survive something like that. Part 3 focuses on my trial and begins with my jury's selection and continues through closing arguments and the verdict. Each chapter in Part 3 has an introductory paragraph from a renowned legal philosopher and a number of criticisms which he shares about the state of America's justice system will be echoed in my story as I give you real-life examples of what he was talking about. You'll be with me as we begin sprinting to the closing arguments and wrapping up the trial and handing the case to the jury for a verdict. And you'll have a front row seat as I walk into my first steps of freedom in 825 days. Please visit 825days.com and subscribe. When you subscribe, you'll receive 2 benefits. First, you'll be able to log in and watch me read my book, 825 Days, in a video memoir format, 2 to 3 segments per month. Remember going to the bookstore and watching your favorite author read from their book? Do you remember bookstores? I'll take you back to a different time here, and you'll watch and you'll see the loneliness and the pain. You'll see the excitement and the freedom. And you'll listen as I take you on a wild ride through America's criminal justice system. Second, you'll gain access to our interactive family forum. This is where you or a loved one can probe deeper into the stories that just couldn't fit into my book. Or you can talk about you or a loved one. You can share your situation and your stories. Maybe you have a son, a sister, a dad, or a cousin in trouble for the first time. Or maybe you know someone with another arrest and a long, long list. By subscribing at 825days.com, you'll be able to join into an international conversation about crime and punishment, justice, innocent and guilt, and what can help you or your loved ones survive through this terrible time. Will you help me share my story? Again, please visit 825days.com and subscribe today. I'll look forward to getting to know you better. Thank you very much.